Since the advent of Christianity, Christ is King has been a cry for connection to the divine, a declaration of faith, a moving signal between Christians of their shared values. But what happens when it becomes a manipulation tactic designed to deceive Christians? Mentions of Christ as King have increased fivefold on platforms like X in just the past 4 years. At first glance, it would seem hopeful as people begin to reinvestigate faith in the face of increasing secularization and chaos in the world. But the NCRI, an organization at the forefront of monitoring deep trends in data, observed a striking and nefarious development around the phrase Christ is King beginning in 2021. In 2024, more than 50% of all engagements around Christ is King posts were driven by extremist influencers. The word extremist gets used a lot, and many are understandably skeptical at its use. But we're talking about people like this.
I used sex as a tool to make women love me so they'd obey me and live in my house to make me money.
Catholics and Christians were going missing on Passover, then they would find bodies, and they were able to trace them back to Jews. Blood libel.
Real Africans, on average, have an IQ of 65.
Posts like these achieved over 13.6 million views and more than 100,000 engagements during Easter 2024 alone. While co-opting the phrase for their toxic narrative, figures like Candace Owens and Jake Shields repeat hateful blood libels. And shockingly, by 2024, the most frequently associated term with Christ as King was the word Jew. The intent is clear: manipulate well-meaning, faithful Christians into having their beliefs tethered to psychopaths. This is nothing short of diabolical. We're caught watching Christ is King being taken by the supremacist right more and more each day. These connections matter. The spiritual, the linguistic, the interpersonal. They shape us, they shape our society, and they shape the world. So what kind of connections do we want to build? And more importantly, what kind of world will we help create? Help retake our values.
Good morning, Owasso. This is Chad with Owasso Live, and this is the Morning Loop. My brother Corey's on vacation for the rest of this week, so it'll just be me for till this upcoming Thursday. So with that, let's get started. As you can see from that last video, it's not really the exact topic of the show today, but it's relevant because it's about the Daily Wire doing kind of a sketchy, scammy kind of a thing regarding the Derek Chauvin thing. So, and with the whole Christ is King thing, that's what blew up. And why that video was relevant is because Candace Owens saying Christ is King to Ben Shapiro from the Daily Wire, and then that blowing up into a big ordeal, and now it seems to be that this is the most reoccurring issue coming up anymore, is like Christ is King, and like how people keep saying that it's an anti-Semitic term to say to people or say to Jewish people now. So we'll start it off like the Daily Wire. Ben Shapiro did a reading, and I don't know how to say this, but he is trying to get Trump to pardon Derek Chauvin. The only problem with this is Derek Chauvin was sentenced at a state level. Donald Trump is a federal level, can do federal level pardons, not state level. So it's kind of a strange thing for him to request this of the president, considering there's really nothing he can do about it other than putting political pressure on it. So you could look at it from two angles. One, if he wants him to actually pardon him, it's impossible. But if he's just trying to get the word out there and just try to get some eyes on this and try to get political pressure on the state, in that state where George Floyd died, yeah, it's very possible, which is Wisconsin. It's very possible that this is a good thing that could happen. But that's how you have to look at this. That's the two ways that I see this. But there is nothing politically that Trump can do. He can't pardon at state levels. He can only do a federal level pardon. So they have to be charged federally, not state level. And again, Derek Chauvin was sentenced at the state level. And here's his letter right here that I'll read off right now. It says, "Dear President Trump, we write to urge you to issue an immediate pardon for Officer Derek Chauvin, who was unjustly convicted of his currently serving 22 to a life year sentence for the murder of George Floyd and associated federal charges. As you know, this was an incitement event for BLM riots that caused $2 billion in property damage in cities across the United States, set race relations on the worst footing in recent memory, yet the evidence demonstrates that Derek Chauvin did not murder George Floyd. George Floyd was high on fentanyl. He had significant pre-existing heart condition. He was saying that he couldn't breathe before he even got out of the car. Derek Chauvin, for the large segment, was widely circulated video of the encounter had his knee on George Floyd's shoulder or back, not his neck. This was confirmed by the autopsy, which showed no damage to George Floyd's trachea. There was no accusation at the trial that Derek Chauvin targeted George Floyd for his race. Perhaps the most significant was that there was a mass overt pressure on the jury to return a guilty verdict regardless of the evidence and semblance of the impartial deliberation. This pressure took the form of threats, coercion, and intimidation. The mayor of Minneapolis prejudged the outcome of the trial and immediately issued a large settlement to the Floyd family. Then President Biden's Congresswoman Maxine Waters and others prejudged the outcome of the trial and took national media to create pressure on the jury to go along with the preferred narrative. Under these circumstances, there was no opportunity for blind justice to work, and the man is now rotting in prison because of it. Make no mistake, Derek Chauvin is convicted, represents a defining achievement of the woke movement in American politics. The country cannot turn back on the dark, divisive, racist era without righting this terrible wrong. Thank you for your commitment to ending the weaponization of the American justice system. Sincerely, Ben Shapiro. Now, nothing wrong with that. I love it, actually. That's a great letter, and all of it's true. But the whole point of this is it's at state-level charges. Trump can't pardon state-level charges. And two, they were also using this as a kind of a marketing technique to get people's emails. To sign up for this, you had to give up your email. So it was a way for people to sign up to the Daily Wire newsletters, which is kind of a scammy, scumbaggy kind of thing to do. You have to be a part of this petition. You have to give us all your information. You know, people who are all freaking out about Elon Musk having access to Social Security, especially if you're on the right, that's one of those things. Like, you have to sign up. You have to sign your email and give us your personal information if you want to help sign up for this petition. But that's really about it. Other than that, I like it. The man does need to have national attention brought to him and needs to be pardoned for this. But again, it has to be at the state level. But that's really about it on that. I do like what he has to do. I still like the Daily Wire. I like the work that they do. But again, it's like all these big conservative media platforms, eventually, like any other media platform, they get so big, they get too big to fail. Or not really, but they just kind of stagnate, and then they're too afraid to really do anything that pushes the boundaries anymore. And I think that's kind of what's going on with the Daily Wire right now. Unless they make some sort of type of Hollywood blockbuster, they're kind of just either stagnating or kind of probably going to start seeing their descend here in a little bit. I mean, it's the same thing with even Steven Crowder. I mean, and all these guys have egos. All these conservative commentators that are big have huge egos. Steven Crowder is another one of these that is very true to this case. I mean, there is not a single person that has worked with Steven Crowder that has gone back to work with him or gone back to even host a show with him. None of them. From Not Gay Jared to Owen Benjamin. I mean, who else? I mean, that other comedian, Dave, I'm blanking on his name right now, but all of them have I'll never work with that man again. And that's what's going on here. I mean, the whole Candace Owens debacle. I mean, Jordan Peterson has had issues with them from time to time, but he's still with them. And which kind of gets me back to the starting point of that video, which was that video about the anti-Semitic thing where Christ is King is being seen as an uptick in this. And, I mean, it's kind of hard to separate the terms Christ is King and Jewish because Jesus was Jewish. So we've got kind of an issue here if you're trying to make this a big issue regarding, I can understand people targeting a Jewish person like Ben Shapiro just spamming Christ is King. Yeah, that might be targeted harassment. But just saying it just in general, posting it online, I don't see how that would be considered harassment. I mean, we're getting into this is where the this is where these types of people start becoming like the woke social justice warriors trying to ban speech and censor people doing things. I mean, as long as there's no violence, I mean, there's violent thing going on in the world. Like, people posting Christ is King on you, it should be the least of your concerns. And then somebody immediately posted up, hey, check the names on this video, the video that we just saw, the people who made this little report. And it is kind of interesting that someone pointed out that a lot of the names on here, almost all the names on here are, Jewish. Dr. Lee Jessam, and he talks about like new reparations and stuff like that. So, I mean, he seems to be a lefty type. The only names on here that aren't Jewish are Dr. Jordan Peterson, Dr. Johnny Moore. Go down, and then I'm not sure about this Jacob Zucker guy. There's so many Jacob Zuckers. I don't know who this person really is. I can't find who this person is, but everybody else here seems to be Jewish or Jewish descent, or at least, ethnically Jewish, maybe not necessarily practicing Jewish. And then the next part down here are these two, Anisha Jagdeep and Akita Agdeep, which they're not Jewish, they're Indian and Hindu, but they do like talks about Hindu phobia, like Hinduophobia, or Indian phobia, or whatever this is. And like, I have it pulled up right here, and you can see like Rutgers HSC and Understanding Hindu Phobia. So they're basically social justice warriors trying to, preach. Because, I mean, this is exactly what, there's Islamophobia, there's homophobia. These are these DEI classes that we're talking about. That's who these people are that have made that video that I just showed you at the top of the hour here. I mean, there it is. This is that video again. I mean, look at it. That was basically one giant, like,
Since the advent of
we
Christianity,
need to put we got to put free speech on the table right now because things are happening that we don't like. That's essentially what this is. Anytime stuff like this is happening, they're trying to censor stuff. And free speech, it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Like, that's why I don't approve of this. Like, now, you have to ask yourself, like, do I think that is because that they're Jewish that they're doing this? No, I think these people are prone to being the types of people that do things like this. They go out, I mean, they give classes and courses out on this stuff, and that's how they make their money. This is their bread and butter. That's why all those people are freaking out about these DEI classes being taken away, because that was those people's gravy trains. All those DEI educators, that's what these people do. They go and give these classes at all these universities, which that's the biggest cash cow, is going and doing these types of speeches at universities and getting paid to do it and travel around the world to go to these Ivy League schools to give these courses. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I mean, at least I actually like Jordan Peterson, but that's basically what Jordan Peterson does now. Except at least he's doing it like over Christian orthodoxy and being a man and being holding yourself accountable. But that's really just crazy that this is going on right now. And I can't believe that, that some of our favorite commentators like Jordan Peterson are throwing up things like this and being a part of this. It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. But I've got this whole report. You can check it out. It is NCIR, Network Contagion Research Institute. And that's what these people do. They research hate crime. They research supposed hate speech kind of violations on, like, Twitter and stuff. Like, when there's freaking actual violence, death, and murder going on, I think some mean tweets or some possibly targeted tweets are the least of our concern. But, that's what they do. These how these people make money and they do their grift. But yeah, even our Charlie Kirk praised Ben Shapiro about this. So, like, what is he going to do? If it's just bringing attention, I'm fine with it. But, there's not a lot that Trump can do besides put political pressure on the governor to try to get this pardoned. But let's see here. I've got some memes that I have pulled up, and we'll go ahead and scan through some of these real quick. There we go. Let me shrink this down just a hair. There we go. Perfect. All right. But yeah, this meme right here sums up my thoughts on this perfectly. Is we have right here, we're talking about hate speech and targeted harassment on Twitter or any other social media platform, and there's actual vandalism going on right now. I'd say what's going on at the Tesla dealerships and the vandalism and fire bombs and all that is a little bit more important than some targeted harassment online. And then also there's the irony of this is like, look, them vandalism, people throwing Molotovs and blowing up Teslas and whatnot, and then like a truck does a skid mark, burns out on a pride flag on the street, and that's considered bad. That's how the media looks like. Oh, there's just some protesters against Elon Musk. Their righteous indignation is fine, but some dude like burning out on a pride flag that's on a street is not okay. Oh, I love it. Oh, let's see here. What else we got? Oh,
Harder, but you
yeah. Speaking of that, this is absolutely crazy.
But you need to try less being like somebody you're not and start to humble yourself and be somebody that God made you to be. He didn't make a man to be a woman. He made the man to be a man. He didn't make the woman to be a man. He made the woman to be a woman. And this is the truth. What are you going to do? Come attack me now? I should. Hey, man, it's up to you. If you want to pull that on me, well, God bless you. So you just threatened me with a gun. You just pulled a gun on my face. Man, Lord have mercy on you. This means that you don't even know who you are. Nope, I still love you. Even though you pulled a gun on me, I still love you. I still bless you. Harder. But
I'd say that's a little bit more important than targeted hate speech online. When a crazy person comes up and pulls a gun on you for your right to have freedom of speech, that's an issue, not someone using their free speech to say Christ is king or whatever. Now, if it eventually becomes to the point where they're calling for violence against you, yeah, maybe we can look into them and do something about it. But actual threats of violence like that is what's important and that we need to focus our time and efforts to, not a bunch of posts saying Christ is king. It seems to be a little hypocritical that we're focusing so much attention on that than some person that's actually protesting, throwing fires, pulling guns on people because they don't like what they have to say. Absolutely ridiculous. Ugh. But one of my buddies sent me this, and I thought it was kind of funny, and it's kind of relevant to how I'm going to end out the show today. But known pedophile said we have P. Diddy, a known pedophile, human trafficker, and potential murderer. They take 30 years to bring him down. Kanye West says Jews run his industry, and they immediately take his bank accounts away. Which that is a very strange thing, that we have people who are actually doing threats of violence, holding people hostage, blackmailing, taking advantage of children, and he's still platformed and has money. But again, I think that has to do more with the fact that that P. Diddy is probably more like a government like contract type person that got dirt for people. So I think he has a little bit more protection than crazy Kanye West. But either way, it's still a good representation of why one standard for this, but a different standard for this person. It just doesn't make any sense. But it's a funny meme, and I just thought it was. Take it how you will. But I think that is really all I've got for today. I think I'm going to transition to here, and I'll start getting ready to end the show for the day. But again, I'm Chad with Owasso Live. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you too can stay in the loop. But I think that's really all I've got for you today. God bless you, and I guess I will see you later, everybody.
Last week on Larry King Live, Marlon Brando made the shocking statement that Hollywood is, quote, run by Jews. In response, outraged Jewish organizations made it snow in New York in April. Well, earlier this week, actor Marlon Brando met with Jewish leaders to apologize for comments he made on Larry King Live. Among them, that, quote, Hollywood is run by Jews. The Jewish leaders accepted the actor's apology and announced that Brando is now free to work again. While in England, where he spoke at Oxford University, Simpson had defended actor Marlon Brando's criticism of Hollywood Jews. Later, from his island hideaway, Brando sent O.J. a telegram which read, "You're not helping." In Cincinnati, is Cincinnati Reds owner Marge Schott an anti-Semite? Well, it is beginning to look that way. According to a report out today, on the entire Cincinnati Reds team, there is not one Jewish player.